the world you're living in,
Yeah.
the society you're living in. But we never left. We never left. We stayed. My mother stayed. She made sure we stayed. Because ultimately, when you leave after something like that, you give up on a place.
Yeah.
And we never wanted to give up on our home. My mother knew that if we left, it would be taken as an opportunity by the people who wanted to scare us away, So we stayed, we held on, we're still here.
Your father's picture is still outside the house.
Of course, it will
I
remain
see it
there.
every time I drive.
It will remain
No.
there for as long as we are here. It will be there. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to take you back to that. I think one of the things that I noticed about everything that I was reading about you is that you felt the injustice and you speak up for injustice, and you speak in many ways, which is from your art to your filmmaking and everything. So when did you decide to leave? Or you went to college after that? I mean, I'm like now fast forwarding.
So I went.
Old.
So basically,
Yeah.
I was 6 at the time, and then I, like a normal kid, spent my rest of my schooling in Karachi.
Really, where did you go to school?
First the American school, Karachi American School. Then I went to Bayview Academy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I was in Bayview Academy till O levels. I did boarding school abroad.
Okay.
For A levels, and then I went to
How was
university.
boarding school? I mean, London, right? England.
In England,
It had to be England.
It was new. It was new because it's not like as a family, no one really had got the only people who had gone to boarding school, yes, were my dad and my uncle, but they went to local boarding schools. They went to
HSN.
Briefly, they were in HSN and just because of my grandfather, because he was a civil servant for a long time, they moved. So they were in Rawalpindi at Lawrence, and then they were also
Ghoda Gali mein bhi.
Yes, and then they were in HSN, and then my uncle even went to Petaro, I think.
Achha.
And so they were, and so obviously, and I'd never heard from them what the experience was like. And even if I had, I mean, it was so different going to a British boarding school. The experience was interesting. I made friends. Now looking back, we're worlds apart, actually, in our outlook. Yeah.
What about friends here? From school? From American school?
Oh, of course. That goes without saying. I have American school friends. I have Bayview friends.
Those are chaddi buddies, no?
Those are chaddi buddies. I still have. I mean, I have a very, very small network of close friends who I went to school with. A lot of them I didn't even go to school with. We connected because of tuitions. Tuitions was always the place to connect. Which honestly, I find tuitions such a scam. Like, I'm sorry,
it is a scam.
It's such a scam. Looking back on it, it's like your poor parents pay for one fee in a private school system, and then they pay triple that fee
to the same teacher.
To the same teachers
from that school.
More 9 out of 10 times.
Yes.
To the same teachers.
Right.
And it's like, why even go to school? I mean, now that's the thing. So many kids are shifting to being educated privately or doing their exams privately because their parents are like, at least he'll get individual attention. He'll get a shot. He'll still have, the social aspect of school.
I pulled both my kids out of grammar school.
Really?
Because of this. And people said, grammar school? How can you pull your kid out of grammar? I said, it's hypocrisy.
It is.
They're not teaching them anything.
They're not.
And I have unhappy kids. They don't have time for sports or music or anything else. This is ridiculous,
they're
right?
Just sitting and studying. Yeah. I remember we didn't even have an opportunity for music class or for anyone to take sports seriously in school because the emphasis was on academia.
Right.
Then after academia, you had more academia.
Right.
And then the tuitions teachers would keep us till 10 p.m. and I'd go home and have a cold dinner, I mean, that was I mean, that's mean.
That's elitist school. I just want everyone to know this because I know the principal begged me, don't take your daughter out. I said, no. No, I don't want to. And I was like a star child. at that school. It doesn't matter. For me, what's real is real, and what's not real is not real.
No, you have to. Yeah, and
you have to stand up for
you
this.
You did a very real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But boarding school. I remember the kids were nice, but the teachers were so racist.
Really?
Oh my God, they would say some of the most outrageous things. Like one teacher used to. Oh God, I shouldn't.
No, say it.
One teacher lectured me when I talked about British imperialism, how we were glad to get rid of British imperialism. And, I hope, world round, we understand that system was bad.
Yeah.
But he went on to say, well, British people, instead of asking for an apology, should start asking for gratitude from our former colonial subjects, because we gave you railroads and we gave you irrigation and we gave you this and we gave you that. But if you look at these systems, these railroads, India, of course, had one of the largest railroad networks, surpassing the size of the UK's.
But that was a self-serving.
That was an exploitative system.
It was East India Company, self-serving.
Yes, of course. And the irrigation was also self-serving.
Exactly.
And the amount of famines that we went through. But of course, imagine me, an 18, 17-year-old, trying to explain this to, a 55-year-old professor. It's absurd.
But professor should not be saying something like
Professor should not be saying something like this.
Yeah.
I had a lot of bad experiences with my history teacher, my geography teacher. And again, like you said, I'm not someone who I don't know how to bite my tongue.
Right.
But that was one part of my life, and then I went to university.
Okay.
In Edinburgh University. I did history of art there.
So
that
why art? You liked art? I read somewhere that you used to make dinosaurs when you were a child.
Yeah, I did. I loved making dinosaurs. I do love art. I've officially exited myself out of the art world, the art industry. Okay. And I can talk about that as well.
Okay.
But I'm a creatively inclined person.
Yes.
I think for me, every human has the right to creativity and expression, be that in art, music, sports, whatever. These are all avenues of creative outlets. And we must have these, otherwise we end up with a depressed, sort of lost population. Mm-hmm. And they will take out their what creative energy they could have spent in their creative talents, they will take out in ways that are maybe not good.
Yeah.
So these are all necessary things, but I think the art world for me stopped feeling like an avenue to promote justice, which is what I initially wanted from it. I wanted it to be an avenue to talk about necessary issues, right? The artist is a reflection of the truth.
Yes, because your sister does the same thing.
She does the same thing, and writing is a very different avenue, because in writing you get into, I think, mass media, you get into a much broader area. Your work can be translated, it can be read on multiple platforms, in print, online, on a post, in social media, there's so many ways for people to see it and digest it, and I think that's incredible. But with the art world, it felt so it started feeling very undignified as an artist to be working with art industry people, because it wasn't about your work, it was about how they placed you in their networks of buyers, in their networks of art fairs, in their networks of biennales, in their networks of all these things that I've just mentioned, art fairs, biennales, etc.
It's become corporate.
It is a corporate world. It's a corporate world. It's a place for people to hide their money. And it's very degrading for an artist to be part of it, because you constantly have to make yourself small to be brought into spaces. There's a very clear power dynamic between curators and artists, especially young artists that are really trying to make their mark in the art world, right? Yeah. And they get very heavily exploited, and they get very heavily sidelined, and they have to put up with so much nonsense. And to me, it's like, why am I wasting my time doing this? There's so many other things that need attention, and that's when I slowed down from art, stopped, because I would make these big elaborate pieces, and all the work I do is with my own hands. I've never...
So sculpture?
Mostly textile-based work. I would do a
okay.
lot of textile-based work, embroidery work, sequining, and everything I would do with my own hands. I never had a karigar. I never carved my work. I always did my own work. I designed my own work. I printed my own work. I embroidered my own work.
Nice.
And and one of the reasons why is because I didn't like the way that artists also exploited labor. Why are we now becoming those people that, okay, your artwork is about embroidery, but you're not doing the embroidery yourself, right? So for me, this was a big kind of thing.
But sculptors also do that. I mean, you can't actually, when you have very large pieces, you can't work on it on your own also. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it can get very difficult.
A designer does the same thing. She designed and maybe she'll make the pattern or maybe she'll drape, but sometimes you have other people doing it. So I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, but I didn't like that, because then I might as well just start a business.
It's personal then. You want to do it your own way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I exited myself from the art world and started focusing on the environmental, in my environmental work.
Yeah, now when did that happen? So now